when he became sergeant, and I actually still have a picture, somebody reported to him that there was a detective who had a picture of different suspects on a family tree. The black dude had a noose next to him on a family tree. An officer went to Luna and, thinking Luna was going to protect him, and Luna outed him. The guys got in trouble for not doing a picture, for doing it on department time, and they got a letter of reprimand. They actually had a field training officer named Blackout. He was a black guy that they would send all the black recruits to so he could fire them.
Dang, not the Beijing. I was thinking Beijing hairstyle Blackout. No.
Yeah. So that's how they were able to cover up the racism. Oh, well, it couldn't be racist. Why? Because he had a black training officer that had issues with him.
Always got to have one.
Yeah.
Every time.
Well, that and so that's what happened in my situation. It wasn't, they used a black sergeant to come after me. Anytime they have an issue, they're going to use a black supervisor, a black sergeant, a black lieutenant, or a black commander to be the one to get rid of you. So when you go to court, they're going to tell the jury, well, how can we be racist? Because here's the black sergeant who had all the bad things to say about it.
Let's embark on the Ark Republic to hear current news that's published. More than gossip and chatter, covering current affairs that matter. We talk issues with professional views, all keeping you in queue. We wanted a higher vibe for these days and times, to free the voices and minds, reporting the sign of the times, so all can build. Let's shine, yeah.
Welcome, everybody. This is Dane Crawford for Ark Republic, here with Kaya Shivers and a special guest. We have my man, Quincy Belafonte, better known as Q the Rebel, from the Uncouth Radio podcast. He's here today. As you guys know, we have been dealing with the sheriff's campaign here in Los Angeles. So Quincy is an ex Long Beach police officer, and Sheriff Luna is ex Long Beach, is it chief or lieutenant?
Chief.
He's ex-chief from Long Beach. So
and Sheriff Luna is one of the candidates right now, correct?
Yes, Sheriff Luna is one of the candidates running for LA Sheriff. So since we have been talking about, the different candidates, and as you know, we've been talking to Sheriff Strong, and now Quincy is my closest connection to Luna. So I wanted to get him on to get his take on Luna as a captain, Luna as the next boss, and Luna as the current candidate. So before we get into it, Quincy, how you doing, bro?
I'm good.
Cool.
No,
Go ahead.
I'm always up to talk about Luna ass. So.
Okay. So that's what it's gonna be. Yeah. So before we get into talking about Luna, just give us a brief on you and your experience as a Long Beach Police Department officer, so people can understand who you are, and just to get some background on what you know and why you know things the way you know it.
Okay, 2005, I went through the police academy of Long Beach. I didn't make it through the first academy. I ended up felt out like the last week. Then I worked inside the station. I was the person you come in and took reports at the desk. Went back into the academy, completed the police academy, went out into the street. Career was good for probably the first 4 years or whatever, and then once I became a little more outspoken and reported some supervisors for discrimination, that was actually my last day of work.
Wow. Can I ask a question? This is I've asked Lieutenant Cedra Sherrod Strong this question. Los Angeles, we're all from Los Angeles or the Los Angeles area. We know the history of law enforcement with the Black community in particular. What made you become a police officer knowing this fraught history?
Well, I had to be about 8, and I was coming home from school, and as I was walking up the stairs to our apartment, pretty much got ran over by a bunch of cops, and not knowing that they were going to my apartment, and they hit our door with the bed around. My mom was in the shower, so she thought that somebody was chasing after me, and I was kicking the door. So as they kicked the door open, my mom was there with a towel around her, and the police officer put a gun to my mom's head and told her, "If you move, I'll blow your fucking brains out." Yeah, for an 8-year-old, of course, I act like any other eight-year-old. I was traumatized, screaming, crying. They drug my mom down the steps, slammed her in the dirt. Neighbors took me, and it became a whole big thing. There wasn't no lawsuit because my mom was afraid that once they got older, they would retaliate by bothering me. And so as I got older, that always became like a bitter spot for me. And my mom, she told me, she's like, look, if you don't like the way how something is, like, don't complain, don't bitch about it. You know, go be the change that you want to see. So I felt that if I could join law enforcement and make people, little Quincy's that are 8, 9 years old like me, know that, hey, somebody's going to be here to protect me, but also not mistreat my mom or my dad. And I want the folks in our community to know that there's somebody out there, you know, he gonna do his job. You know, your cousin, somebody doing drive-bys, I'm gonna take him to jail. But I also know that with my upbringing, that I can decipher from a criminal to just a brother, just, you know, going to school. And I really wanted folks in our community to feel that there was an officer out there that was fair, that was going to protect them, and looked at them as human beings.
What do you? This is deep. I'm sitting. You are the second person. I won't be surprised if this is actually a trend in terms of Black law enforcement officers. So I know this is still painful. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, that's crazy. It is.
Like I would say a lot of the brothers I knew, that was their same reasoning. You know, as much they don't like to give us credit for it in the law enforcement community. I think there's some type of envy or jealousy there, but the Black community was a lot more comfortable with us. You know, I had a sergeant. I've told this story to Dane that complained, called me into the station, said, "Hey, you're not doing police work." I said, "Well, what's the problem?" She's like, "Your productivity is low." I said, "Well, what's the issue with my productivity?" She said, "Your use of forces are down. You don't have a lot of use of forces." I said, "Because people, I treat people with respect, and they give it back, and that's how we go." They couldn't understand why I was able to get some of the most complicated and difficult people in my handcuffs without beating the hell out of them.
You know, this is the irony. When I took my driver's license, the permit, you had to take a written test back in the day. And one of the questions, so I was one question short, and the person at the DMV asked me questions, said, "Okay, you're only one question short. Let me re-ask you one of the questions you got wrong." And the question was something about a peace officer. My response was wrong, and they asked it again, and my response was wrong. And they said something, a cop. And I said, "A cop? In my community, a cop is not a peace officer." And they were like, "You know what, you're right. Go ahead, you got your license." So it's the irony is that the official term, I don't know if it's still called peace officer, but back then it was peace officer.
It's still peace
and
officer.
Here you have the sergeant telling you that your productivity is low because you're not beating people's asses. Therein lies the problem.
Yeah, oh no, big time. I think the biggest problem is the definition of what they believe policing is and what we believe policing is. I believe policing was building the relationships. Like I said, knowing the difference between the person that made a mistake and an actual criminal. They're not the same. Different mentalities, different type of people. And because I was pro relationships, you know, I was criticized of, oh, you trying to be their friends. Like, who is they friends? Like, this is the community we serve, you know. And I used to tell them all the time, I'm like, look, there's a tug of war. You got the gang members on one side, you got cops on the other side, you got the community in the middle. The more ignorance y'all show, the more the gangsters gonna pull them to their side. So when you try to you looking for witnesses and nobody want to say nothing, they're not on your side because of your behavior. They don't trust you. They don't trust you to do the right thing.
It's deep, man, because a lot of the things you're saying are parallel in one of the interviews that we just did to show you just how, you know, this culture kind of permeates through different departments. It's kind of crazy. I know me and you, like, we've done extensive interviews for your documentary that we actually need to finish. But you gave me like the full rundown of your story. So now let's get into that a little bit. I know you kind of talked about a little bit once you put in for discrimination. Tell us how that went and tell us how you were treated being someone who's trying to do the right thing.
Well, what they want you to do in Long Beach, it just be black and happy that we allow you to join our department. Don't be opinionated. Don't cause any issues. Just be happy and black that we allow you to join us. That's why when you look at their numbers, they have about 800 officers, and I don't even think they have 30 black officers on the department. Probably since 2000, I don't even think they have hired 6 black females on the department. And in the department history, they've never promoted a black female ever. So,
and what's the demographic of Long Beach in terms
Long
of
Beach? I think it's about, let's just say about 70,000 black folks live in Long Beach, and they live in certain pockets. So you have some people. I remember being in an academy, and somebody mentioned this, like, you know, you're like the first like black person I've known, which was kind of like scary because I was like, so you finna go out into the street and I'm the first black person you know and cool with? And they grew up somewhat middle class, Orange County area, and those the folks, you know, you get thrown out there. I had it, and to contrast to that, I had another white friend of mine who grew up in North Long Beach, border of Compton. He was very comfortable around black folks. You know, the way how communicate, go to calls, wasn't scared, wasn't intimidated. And so, you know, a lot of the issues are the people that, you know, the hire practices and the demographics of where they look to hire people from, because they will disqualify you just based on where you live at. They almost done it to me, except I had a black background investigator who actually stood up and continued to do my background investigator. It still continued to be my background investigator because they just wanted to disqualify me based on where I live. Although I was a college graduate, no criminal record, don't drink, don't smoke, had a good credit score, no issues, but they simply wanted to disqualify me because where I lived at.
Wow. So thankfully, you know, you did have a background officer come, you were able to become a cop. You were kind of starting to get, you know, known in your precinct. You know, like you said, you had a lot of good relationships, and I'm sure that rubbed some people the wrong way. I remember you telling me a story about how you went to a party, or it was like a domestic call or something, and they was about to get all hype, and you had to tell the cops to calm down because, like you said, we know how to talk to our people, we know how to talk to our folks. And you said that, you know, you went in and was able to go in the house, close the door, and talk to them and calm everything down. And your fellow officers were befuddled at how you were able to do that. And it's so crazy that people don't even understand that just basic human decency goes so far if you want things to happen.
it used to be mind-boggling. Just because I was given respect, people didn't believe I was an actual cop. They're like, no, man, who hired you? This is a joke. Like, for real, like folks thought they were being pranked at times. And all I was doing is like laughing, talking with them like, hey, you know what? This is not something to be going to jail over or possible, getting hurt. That's not the way to go about it. And, a lot of times when dudes, have little issues and, their kids was there, I tell them like, look, you got a warrant, but you with your daughter, go to court before, I don't want to have to take you to jail in front of your child over this petty warrant. Go take care of it because I'm sure the next person might not be as considerate as I am, and now your daughter have a bad experience with you going to jail, tell them where you'll be at. And that type of consideration, will go a long way. I always talk about it was a guy that pushed his girlfriend out the car, and that turned into a little pursuit. He crashed, we chased him. And I remember a group of guys that I had stopped at a previous time, and I kind of gave them a warning, a heads up. And when that guy hit, they the one pointing him out of where he was hiding. I said, hey man, I didn't think y'all would help me out. That's like, oh, we remember you. You're a good dude. So
Quincy, I'm sorry, brother. Go ahead. I apologize.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
But these are the story that you're talking about is very similar to what happens in a white community when you have white cops in the community and these spaces or reprieves that they are given to citizens in order to cultivate these relationships between law enforcement. That they're often in jokes, and we as Black people often imagine what that is, or we may say it in jest, but what you are doing exactly what they do every day in white communities.
Yeah. And I saw how effective it was, because in the most when it was times where I couldn't give warnings, like you got a domestic violence warrant, I can't just blow that off. I got to take you in. But what I will do is make sure you're not going to get mistreated. I'm going to allow you to call your mom to pick up your child. So your child won't have to go into the system. And then, if they can, get there in a decent, timely manner, cool. And then the conversation we will have going as I was driving them to jail, and I would just tell them, like, look, you got to take these domestic violence classes. Are they going to put these warrants out on you? And I would tell guys about fighting for custody. I was like, look, I know Black men, we intimidated. We don't like courts because we normally don't win in courts. But in order to get your child to see your child on a regular basis, these are the things you have to do, and take your class and do what you have to do. And when I started to, oh well, you don't get into a lot of use of forces. That this particular deal could have easily been a use of force, because he was mad. Because what ended up happening, his girlfriend, he had got him a little studio apartment, was doing good, and she knew his ex, I should say, and she knew he had a warrant. She knew it. So she wanted to take some of the daughter the new clothes that he had bought, and he's like, no, this for when she come to my house. So she called us. Well, he got a warrant. So as I'm putting him, so as I show up, he decided he wanted to, he wanted to fight somewhat, and I just grabbed him. I had him from the back. I didn't put him in the carotid, which is now illegal, but I was just close enough just to be in his ear. I said, don't you do this in front of your daughter. I said, don't worry. I said, the judge want to see you because you're not taking those classes, but don't do this in front of your child. And he said, man, they taking this stuff out of my place. I said, don't worry about it. I got you. So I handcuffed him. I set him in the car. I said, do they have permission to take these out of your house? He was like, no. I said, okay, I'll be right back. So I went over there to the girlfriend and her mom, and I told her, I said, look, y'all got all about 5 minutes to put all that stuff back into his house, or y'all going to jail for burglary, because he didn't give you permission to go into his house and take anything. Of course, they started hooping and hollering. But I wanted to know, although he was under arrest, brother, you still got rights. They just not gonna just abuse you because you were wrong in one situation doesn't mean you can't be right in this situation. And I wanted him to understand that he still had rights. So that could have easily been something that escalated because he wanted to fight. But I told him I had to remind him his child was there and remind him like, look, you have rights. And that's all I wanted people to feel, for at least the spirits with me. Even when you're wrong, you can still be a victim in another situation. And I just thought that girl and her mother was trying to take advantage, and they just thought I was just going to ignore it. Like, no, he didn't give you permission to take the stuff. He's trying to do well, and you did a malicious thing by calling a warrant to get your way. And so then I end up having a good conversation with him, and later on, never had a problem with him again. He was always going to work. He'll wave, and I see him with his daughter at the park, and that was our relationship.
It's crazy. It's big that that you said that like you said, y'all ended up having a relationship. So can you speak to how your way of operating? Because as we know, as Black folks in these spaces, when we do work like this, we tend to make other people look bad or tend to make other people have to work, and they don't like that. And that's when they kind of start to come after you.
I'm rolling all my eyes because I understand.
Can you speak to that?
I mean, definitely, because like I said, it was really somewhat of a mystery to them. I was trying to figure out what was the big deal. To be honest, it was really somewhat of a mystery. Like, man, that dude was ready to throw down with us, and you just walked over there and talked to him. What did you say? I said, this ain't worth it. Like, you are not, and I would tell him straight up, I was like, you are not about to get hurt over a blue line ticket. Like, this is not what's about to happen.
Right.
And I was like, I got two goals. I go home to see my kids. You go home to see your kids. How can you help me with that? Well, what's the best route? We both go home to our family. That's my main goal. You're not going to jail. I know you're a little irritated over this little ticket situation, but you're not about to get hurt, and you're not going to jail over it. So what can I do to make sure I go home to my family and you go home to your family? And when I would give that speech, I never had, you can actually kind of see like, oh, okay. I'm like, okay, well, talk to me. Let me hear your side, blah, blah, and then you get out of here. Fight the ticket in court, but we are not about to be tasing and all this, the whole dog. We're not about to do that. So, and anytime I said that to people, I never have somebody take the alternative, like, no, we about to just scrap it out. and so it was a mystery. I remember this one guy, it's probably one of my favorite experience. And when people say, well, why would you still want to be a cop? And it's because of this story right here. It was a young man, when you enter any dwelling, like a store, and you steal, they want you to charge the people with burglary, because you have the intent, you didn't have no money, and you have the intent to walk into the store and steal. So instead of a petty theft, they want you to charge with a burglary, which we all know is a serious felony crime. And I picked the dude up, and I was talking to him, and he told me, he said, I lost my dad early February. And I remember it was like later that year, it was like maybe October, November. And he said, and I just lost my mom. And he said, I just lost both of my parents. He said, and I have an interview with the Marines, and I wanted some shoes. And that's why I was stealing the shoes. Because I didn't want to go into my interview with the Marines without a pair of shoes. And at the time I was on training. So we take them, and I'm kind of conflicted because I was like, I know what I want to say to my training officer. I just don't know how it's about to go over. But it was bothering me. I was like, well, if I don't say nothing, it's gonna always hump me to know that I could have said something and I didn't. So I don't know if I'm gonna get a bad markdown or whatever, but I gotta say something. So I went over to my training officer. I said, hey, I don't feel comfortable charging him with a burglary. And my training officer said, hey, I want you to handle the call like I'm not even here. And then I'll let you know at the end of the day how I felt about what you were doing. So he had the card from the Marine person that he was supposed to meet with. I called them and they confirmed, yeah, he's supposed to meet with us later on today. I said, and I told him the situation, what he said, and the guy I talked to, I said, what if I just gave him a ticket for petty theft? Because it was under $50, the shoes he wanted. I said, will he still be qualified? He's like, yeah. He said, but that felony will hurt him. I said, he's not going to get the felony. So we down there in the booking, and I decided to give him a ticket, and I released him from booking. My training officer, he was one of my best training officers. And he said, I just want you to explain, why did you do what you did? I said, he lost his dad and mom in the same year. I said, we give him that felony and he can't get a job, he can't go to school, he would be the perfect criminal for any gang to recruit. He has nothing to live for. The only thing he think he could live for is go fight for his country, be a man, get his education in the military. If we could give him that opportunity, why not? Because we already know once he gets this felony, it's a wrap. And he has nothing to live for. So guess who we about to be dealing with?
A monster. That's how you create a monster.
I said, and he said, you know what? You made the right decision. He said, I just want you to understand that when you make these type of decisions, that you're able to explain it and live with it. Mm-hmm. And later on, probably 6 months later, I saw the same dude. He was like, hey, I'll report to Count Pendleton in 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. And it was always those moments because I knew that he wasn't, that's why I said there's criminals and there's just people just make bad mistakes due to their circumstances or just bad decisions. That young man wasn't a criminal, but we would have created a criminal if I had took him into for that felony. And that's the type of lack of understanding I think that is not there overall in the law enforcement community. They don't see the domino effects because I told Dame this before. I think the biggest issue I have with law enforcement is everything is statistically driven. How many felony arrests? They used to, how many felony arrests you have? How many DUIs you got? So if me and Dan competing for detective spot and Dan got more felonies than me, what do you think that's going to encourage me and push me to do?
Go out, try to make more people catch felonies.
Mm-hmm,
yeah.
Mm-hmm,
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And
it incentivizes that.
And probably charging people with felonies that probably shouldn't be charged with felonies.
Right.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And that was something I could never do. So they get criticized of, you didn't have this many arrests. And actually, when you looked at my arrests, I was like still in the middle and my stuff was legit. It wasn't made up stuff. So I was still in the middle of the pack with legit stuff. One time I could have charged people with felonies, yeah, but that's I'm not there for statistics. But overall, that's what they look at. When you get promoted and you get awards, just bring up his stats, and then the chief want to be able to go in and have these fancy meetings and say, oh yeah, I dropped crime, we had this many felony arrests in my department, and then and that's the biggest problem, because one thing we don't do that white folks do, we don't fight when we go to court. We just take deals. I've seen people take deals and we couldn't even find the victim. Just taking deals, no witnesses. We just gonna take the deal. So, and I've told people this, there's a difference between being not guilty and innocent. And although some of these people might not have been innocent, if they had fought in court, they probably would have been found not guilty. But you know, and then it was some people who should have never taken a deal that I don't think where the evidence was strong enough to even have them arrested. But you know, I wasn't a detective. So.
Dame and I, when we were talking about law enforcement, I said that, I mean, it's highly unlikely, something to the fact of the matter that it's highly unlikely to be a Black officer in law enforcement and not experience some form of discrimination. Maybe I should have said in a predominantly or, you know, white or non-Black space. What prompted, I'm pretty sure leading up to you filing for discrimination, you experienced something, but what prompted you to officially file the complaint that you filed?
I felt like they was putting my life in danger. It was the sergeant, the sergeant, like everyone was partnering, like it would be nice, but we'd be fully staffed and everybody was partnering up. And he would, you know, officers say, hey, I'm gonna, you know, I'm gonna partner up with Q tonight. He can't have a partner. He just said straight out like that. He can't have a partner. But then throw me in the most dangerous neighborhood and be like, you need to stop more gangsters. Now, I'm not afraid to work by myself. Actually, I prefer to work by myself because I can police the way I want to. But to me, it went actually against what we were trained to do because they have what they call one-man car school. And one thing they really like harp, especially when you were a graveyard officer like myself, which most officers are normally hurt and killed on, was avoid stopping multiple possible violent subjects by yourself. Now here you are, won't allow me to have a partner, but then you're gonna put me in the worst area. I was like, oh, okay. And the build up to that was just it was what really started what I think really put the target on my back. There was an incident where a robbery came out, and it was the call came out with 3 male Blacks, and we saw a bunch of people running to this van. It turned out it was a church van, like 1 o'clock in the morning at the beach, with kids from age 5 to about 16. We had guns pointed, draw them out, and it really messed me up because when I opened up the van, my gun was pointing at this 5-year-old's chest. Black kid. And after everything cleared, I sat down next to him and I talked to him and I apologized. And but what really pissed me off, they have what they call a field show up. That's when you put the victim in the police car and you bring possible suspects in front of the car, and the victim goes, yes, that's them, they did it, or no, that's not the person that did it. Well, the people she was identifying was little Black girls from age 6 to 12. Now, what did I tell you the description of the suspects was that came over that call? 3 male Blacks. So why was the little Black girls from age 6 to 12 wearing handcuffs? And I went off. Like, if you was out there, you would have been like, oh, this dude is probably gonna get fired. I went off. And I told one officer, it was a 6-year-old handcuffs, and she was just crying. I said, if she could whoop your ass and take your gun, then you don't need to be a cop. I like, get those handcuffs off of her. And that really started, that really started the problem. Now, one of the boys I knew, and I tell Dame about this kid all the time, because he was a Black dude and he was about 6'9" with blonde hair, and he always thought somebody was snitching on him. And I used to tell him, like, your ass commit, you still haven't figured out why you always get caught. I was like you literally 6'9" with blonde hair, and you still can't figure it out. And he took me to where the purse was. He's like, I just threw it in the ocean. I said, whatever. So we went to get the purse. And another thing that bothered me, our victim was drunk. And I made the statement. I said, if you put me in front of that police car right now, she's gonna identify my ass and I'm in uniform. And the next day was our squad meeting, and I brought that up, and I like this. I was probably the third most junior officer in there, and I'm like going off how I don't take innocent people to jail. We need to do better. And I'm just they looking at me like this motherfucker lost his mind. Like that. Looking back, like at the time, I felt like I was like, look, I'm standing up for the right thing. I'm good. And I didn't know that was, I think that was the beginning of like, because I started hearing that I was militant, I was confrontational. It's another label they was putting on me. Militant, confrontational, and something else. And you know, which I later on find out, historically, anytime a Black person has spoke up about those type of issues, oh yeah, angry, like you angry, militant, and you're confrontational. And no, you know, just like I had a partner who told me, you know, we got in the car, she's like, I'm gonna be a bitch to Black dudes today because they don't respect the cops. I'm like, what? Like, do you forget who you over here sitting?
What the hell?
Next to? And that became a big argument. And you know, later on, she didn't want to
ride with you anymore.
Huh?
She didn't want to ride with you anymore.
No. That was actually last day. Then come to find out, like the very next week, a Black dude had punched her in the head, was running down the street with her handcuffs on. I was like, well, you know, because she had stuff, because the two Black dudes she was being mean to was like these two big ass parolees. These dudes, like one of them probably could have took the both of us on. And I'm like, dude, chill. And I had to tell one of them because I could see the steam like coming out of this. I said, look, big homie.
You said big homie.
I ain't gonna fight you. I'm gonna have to just shoot your ass because, bro, I can't do it. I was like, I can't do it. I said, look, if you've been reporting to your parole officer, you've been doing your thing, everything's cool, don't worry about nothing. He's like, man, you better do something with your girl. I said, look, don't worry about her. I said, you don't, no matter what, as long as you handling your shit, you're gonna be a free man walking away from this situation. I said, but if you attack her, I already told you, I'm not fighting your big ass. So, cause I mean, we talking about 6'5", 280, like 5% body fat. I'm like, oh,
fresh out, just ready.
And his homie is just as big. He's like, yeah, that's my little homie. He 240.
That's the little homie.
6'3".
Thank you so much for tuning in to Arc Republic. If you like what you see and you like what you hear, you can actually keep this mothership going. How? You can make a tax-deductible donation in several ways. One, Cash App us at Arc Republic Media. And you can also go on our website, arcrepublic.com/donate. As well, you can also donate to our fiscal sponsor and our sister organization at Black Farmers Index, that is Cash App, or also go onto their website, blackfarmersindex.com. We are two Black women-owned media organizations who share our profits so folk can thrive. You know, you mentioned it kind of sort of triggered me. I said this a couple of times in terms of, you know, I was a lifeguard. I was an LA County lifeguard, which is considered as a civic servant or civil servant. I forgot the term, right? And so I would work in tandem with the cops and everything. But I worked in the South District of LA County, which a swath of it was predominantly Black lifeguards because we worked in our communities. And the strategy that was used at the time of the person over the South region, his name was Alvin. I forgot his last name, Alvin something. He was a white man. And what he did, he strategically removed Black people from leadership positions at the pools. How he did it was he first eliminated the Black men. And so I know this because he did this to my brother. He put all of the Black men who lived in, like, let's just say you lived in a Crip neighborhood, he put them in Blood neighborhoods if they became a manager or an assistant manager, knowing that at the time, at the height, it wasn't the height of the gang wars, but it was still very palpable. This is right before, right after King, the truce was broken, around Tupac getting shot. So he would place them in these, at these pools that they could not work at. And so, like, my brother actually went to, I was raised in a neighborhood that was Crip. He goes to Athens Park. Athens Park is a Blood park, and they shoot at him. And that was the last time my brother ever went. And shortly thereafter, he is eliminated as a lifeguard because he refused to go to the assignments he was given. So after the men, dwindled, and especially the younger men, because if you were young, then you would take the positions of the OGs or the older ones who taught you. It was only a lot of women in leadership positions that were there. And then after we either left or were eliminated for like fraction, then we were all placed by a Latino population. And so what you're saying, it just reminds me, a lot of people, we often talk about the experience of being a Black Angelino, but this is something that a lot of people don't understand, how these strategies are created. And I was known, just like you said, you were militant, angry. Oh, I was all of that. I was, when they would see me come, we would call it the yard, when you would go pick up supplies and you would go to a meeting, they would here the fuck she come. God damn it, I don't want to see her. So I totally understand, and I get what it is you're saying. And I this is something, people ask me if there's something you wanted to, if you wanted to have a career, what would it be? And I would Parks and Recreation. People are like, really? So I love being a lifeguard. I love being outside. I love, I'm a water baby. But, one, I didn't know I could have a career in it. And, two, lack of mentoring, but also there's just this climate in Los Angeles that really stymies, to me, what is considered Black progress, because I cleaned up Campanella Park pool. Me, 5'1" and 3/4, cleaned up Campanella Park pool. And I was very proud of that. But I was pushed out. So, it just made me think about that. I didn't mean to be long-winded, but it just shows you these parallels that are going on in different agencies.
Oh, yeah. So what Long Beach has mastered, and they are very strategic and systematic in eliminating us. I'll give you a prime example. So once you get into the academy, you got 6 months through the academy. When you get out the academy, then you go into the field training program for a year. And after you pass that, then you are a cop, or, you are a permanent cop. You're not at will. But from the time you join the academy to after that year, you're in field training, you're at will. So, for those that don't know, that means they can fire you without even explaining. And so what they would do is they would hire us. You'll see Black people in the academy, and you'll see Black people in the field training program, but they're not going to make it off of probation. But what they'll do is tell you, oh, we hire Black people because you have an ID number. So once they bring out the paper, once Luna bring out the paper, oh no, we hire Black folks. But what folks not going to ask, how many others Black folks made off of probation? Now, why didn't they make it off of probation? They actually had a field training officer named Blackout. He was a Black guy that they would send all the Black recruits to so he could fire them.
Dang, not the Beijing. I was thinking Beijing hairstyle Blackout. No.
Yeah. So that's how they were able to cover up the racism. Oh, well, it couldn't be racist. Why? Because he had a Black training officer that had issues with him.
Always got to have one.
Yeah.
Every time.
Well, and so that's what happened in my situation. It wasn't, they used a Black sergeant to come after me. Anytime they have an issue, they're going to use a Black supervisor, a Black sergeant, a Black lieutenant, or a Black commander to be the one to get rid of you. So when you go to court, they're gonna tell the jury, well, how can we be racist? Because here's the black sergeant who had all the bad things to say about it. Now what they did in my situation, because I made the black sergeant a part of my complaint. Despite him being part of my complaint, they still allowed him to be an investigator on the return of fair cases that they made up that led to my termination. So they didn't even care about the obvious conflict of interest that everybody lied about and said that he wasn't on my case because they didn't think I'd go back and I was going to check and listen to interviews, because the only interview he wasn't in was mine. He did all the other interviews except for mine. And then they lied about it, you know, several times to try to cover it up. So that's how strategic they are. And then they have someone like Luna, who I heard in the beginning, he dealt with his own racism. You know, they used to make fun of him being Latino. And that's why when he became sergeant, and I actually still have a picture, somebody reported to him that there was a detective who had a picture of different suspects on a family tree. The black dude had a noose next to him on a family tree. An officer went to Luna and, you know, thinking Luna was going to protect him, and Luna outed him. The guys got in trouble for not doing a picture, for doing it on department time, and they got a letter of reprimand. When I heard when Luna became a lieutenant, someone else, a white guy, reported some racism, a detective. And he went to him thinking he was going to be protected from being retaliated, and Luna outed him. And that they thought he just quit because they was retaliating against him so bad, he just quit. And then Luna becomes commander and he becomes deputy chief, which he was deputy chief for 8 years. And then I think he was chief for another 8 years. So as he bragged about his past 20 years, you talking about past 20 years where no black female has been promoted. You probably didn't hire 5 black females in the last 20 years. And all this time you've been a supervisor, because what Luna liked to do, he liked to deflect because he's sensitive. So he'll put it on whoever else, but not himself. But he was in a position to make change for at least, I mean, because even before he was deputy chief, he was commander. So at least in the last 20 years. So in the last 20 years, he was a commander, a deputy chief, and a chief. And all he did was promote the racists. There was a guy, when I first got there, and this is crazy. When white people tell you somebody racist, see, that's the thing. That's a run. That's a run. The one thing people don't know about my situation, that it was white officers that pulled me aside and said, hey, they coming after you, and it was because you're a black. Don't you be naive. These was white officers. Like, hey, dude, they see, and this one white officer, he said, look, I might have to keep it raw and real so you can understand. He's like, but they see you just like any other nigga they see out there. So I want you to protect yourself. He said, excuse my language, but I know if I don't tell you like that, you're not gonna get it. These are white dudes. So when white folks tell you, so it was a training officer, and they was like, hey, stay away from him because he like to connect, he like to collect Nazi memorabilia. He's a straight racist. So I'm like, okay, I'm kind of asking around, and folks like, yeah, dude racist. Now, of course, he's a training officer. He's been a training officer for a minute. So I'm like, hey, how is he a training officer? And everybody knows this dude is a racist. And so they're like, because, you know, and then, you know, you ask other people, they're like, oh, no, he's cool. He's not a racist, blah, blah, blah. But those are the same folks that's covering from. Here's the irony of the story. Somehow that racist officer sues the department. Guess what they come out and say, assassinated his character? He was racist. That motherfucker been racist for the past 25 years. But when it was convenient for you, nobody cared because everybody knew. But the moment he sued the department, and Luna was the chief at the time, the moment he sued the department, now you have people coming out, oh yeah, he was a known racist. Well, now I want y'all, if he was a known racist, I want y'all now to justify the past 25 years and the past 15 years he was training people and everything else. Because this was like the worst kept secret around the department. And so, but I have to say, and I have to do this because the reason why Long Beach been able to do this for so long, because we have Black folks that enables them. I called the Black branch of the NAACP. I told her about my issues. I said, look, I don't want you to stand up for me or whatever. I just want you to ask questions.
This is Long Beach NAACP?
Yeah, I said, I just want you to ask questions. And so she said, well, who are the names of the people that's coming there? So I told her, she said, oh, he like my son. And then what she allowed him to do when because when my lawsuit dropped, he all of a sudden was a member of the NAACP. Now
and the AME church falling out.
Yeah. And I said, so the NAACP support people putting Obama face on the trash can walking around police stations, right? She said, well, no. I said, well, that's what your member does. He hate Obama. like I was like, and not only that, I heard that a lot of the reasons why he was going after me because one of my mentors got into it with his dad a long time ago, who was like a known racist, and would clear calls TND over the radio. TND means typical nigger deals. So this been part of this culture, and everyone turns a blind eye to it until it becomes media. And then Luna was a part of the department back then. I think he was a sergeant or a lieutenant during these times. So what he liked to do though, because folks in this city fell for it, and even I have to get on the Democrats' ass in the city of Long Beach because they all turn a blind eye to it too. Don't think that it's just a Republican thing. Long Beach is supposed to be a very liberal city, from the city council members to the mayor. They all have turned a blind eye to this. To the Irish race. You can't tell me as a mayor that you see multiple lawsuits from Black officers who all filed racial discrimination complaints and were fired, and you don't ask no questions. You don't ask no questions. I haven't reached out to some Black pastors, in Long Beach, but everybody is comfortable because what Long Beach did, you take down my number. So if any of your church members get into any trouble, you got the chief number in your phone. So everybody enjoyed the hookup and turned a blind eye to the overwhelming racist department that they're dealing with. So when you have the NAACP enabling it, then you got the prominent Black pastors in Long Beach enabling it. I even talked to a city council member. He's like, I know they're racist. I'm like, what the hell are you gonna do about it? He's like, well, no. Like literally, face to face with a city council member. Everybody knows it, but nobody's doing nothing about it. And they just continue to run amok, and people turn a blind eye to it, and and that's why Luna feel like no one knows, no one cares, because no one haven't cared up until this point about what goes on in the second largest police department in LA County. Long Beach is the second largest, behind LAPD. It's the second largest police department in LA County. And at least you can look at the sheriffs and LAPD. At least they have promoted Black women. I think LAPD have a black assistant chief, black female assistant. This department has never promoted a black woman in its history. And that's because, you know, nobody cared.
This is very interesting. Long Beach is considered the a very LGBTQ friendly city. What is that community saying about the racism?
Well, one of the people, a good friend of mine, he was gay, white officer. There was two officers who didn't like him because he was gay. When they promoted, they went after him. Everybody knew he was gay. They denied. Oh well, they used to crack gay jokes about him and all that. He filed the complaint. He was fired. Now, you remember how I told you they used the black training officer and the black supervisor to go after black officers they want to get rid of. So what you think they did with him? They got a gay female lieutenant who had made her complaints in the past. So all of a sudden, Long Beach PD is gay friendly. She forgot that she made the same type of complaints about being gay before she promoted. And so they used her. She, you know, they found a couple other gay people to say, oh no, Long Beach PD is gay friendly, when clearly these two guys, this one particular officer never liked him, constantly made gay jokes, and then the moment he promoted, he went after him and they fired him. And so, you know, and they have, you know, Long Beach have a gay mayor. That's why, you know, I get disgusted when I see him Black Lives Matter or, you know, pro-gay, all that stuff, because his department is believing everything, the opposite of everything he out there marching for. But he has allowed to let it happen. Him and other city council members that are Black, you know, Latino or whatever. You know, a lot of Latino officers, I know a couple that filed complaints. They was fired. Like that's the Long Beach way. You know, you file a complaint, what they gonna do? The moment you file that complaint, they're not gonna investigate the complaint. They're gonna start setting you up to assassinate your character. Because how they're gonna defend against the complaint is you're a bad person, you're a bad cop, and this is why. But they're not gonna look into the simple fact. I give you an example in my situation, me and a white officer at the same place at the same exact time, police cars parked right next to one another, and the sergeant makes it look like I was there by myself. They don't find out that another officer was with me until I brought it up. So then when they bring in the white officer, they say, hey, were you with him? He was like, yeah. What they did, that case just disappeared, and they just brought up something else. Now, they didn't go, wait a minute, is this the reason why Quincy filed the racial complaint? Because the white officer confirmed that he was there, and the sergeant made it seem like I was by myself. Now, I gave them the example. I said, if it was two dope dealers, and it was a dope dealer that my ex-girlfriend used to talk to, and I made him look like he was there by himself, and I didn't mention the other dope dealers. I only mentioned the one, and then y'all later on find out that he was actually with somebody else that I left off my police report. What had happened to me? They're like, oh, that. I mean, you basically left out information. I said exactly. So what's the difference between that example I just gave you and what that sergeant did? Because once the white officer confirmed that I was there with him and he was with me, that should have been like, wait a minute, why did he leave out that information? Because he just wanted to make it look like I was there by myself. But Long Beach didn't investigate that. What they did, they wanted to assassinate my character and gave you a reason why not to look at that case. And all this, Luna was my deputy chief at the time. So before the chief even decided whether or not he's gonna terminate me, it gotta go through Luna's desk, the deputy chief, because he was the deputy chief of patrol. So he was over patrol. So as much he might try to deflect, but like a whole span, he was over patrol. That what goes out into the street. So, like I said, he don't let that soft-spoken, he liked to write, oh, I'm Latino. I heard he was trying to run as a Democrat, which he gave 2 fucks about Democrats. You know, I tell him now, I used to purposely put the TV on BET and take it off Fox News and take the remote, the batteries out the remote, just to see how mad they get. And so I know how they really feel about things. But like I said, he would have a town hall meeting in one of them black churches. Say, oh, you know, Luna's a very nice man. He came out to the black church. They knew. I mean, you got to give them credit. If people bit the bait, they knew how to play it well, and that's how they got away with it for so many years, and still continue to do to this day. I still get people that call me and complain about the same things about that department that was going on when I was there. And then it's crazy because then when I talk to people who came on in the 80s, their stories are very similar to mine. Come to find out, I dealt with the sons, they dealt with the fathers.
Cold world.
And I bring up a name, they be like, oh, his dad was such and such. I said, what about him? Oh yeah, his dad. Oh, I got into it with his dad because his dad called such and such a nigga in the squad meeting. Oh, what about him? Oh yeah, his dad was this. So I dealt with the sons, they dealt with the fathers.
Legacy racists.
Yep.
You know, there's a years ago I did a story about it was a case involving minor children, and they had to deal with the juvenile courts. And I remember the lawyer jokingly saying, or soberly saying, that, you know, Long Beach was like 1965 Los Angeles. You have confirmed that. And that was almost 20 years ago, right? So seems like little has changed.
I'm gonna tell you somebody I recommend, and Dame, you probably gonna be like, oh yeah, I should have thought about him. He's a former deputy chief of LAPD, good friend of mine. His name is Stephen Downey. You guys get a chance. Dame talked to him before. I mean, he came to Compton. 75-year-old white man came to Compton. He could break from LAPD to Long Beach because he became a cop in the 60s. He could break down the whole dynamic of law enforcement in this county, why things the way it was, why certain people were promoted, because he remembered when a lot of these people that we deal with, when they were younger officers. So, and he, you know, he was, I remember after he went to do like the speak, like a training thing with Long Beach PD brass, like some of the top brass. And the first thing he came out, he said, I don't understand how any of those guys got promoted. That was the most incompetent group of supervisors I've ever spoken to in my life. Dame, I'm lying?
Nope. Nope.
He said that was the most incompetent. He said, I don't understand how any of those people. He said so many things made sense, and they hate him because he constantly write articles about him in the Long Beach local paper, and you know, it's just an ongoing culture. Everybody turns a blind eye to it, and nobody really cares. But then something big happened, and everybody want to be in outrage, and it's like this has been going on for a minute. They've been doing this, and you know, the fact that Luna is running to be a sheriff of LA County, I'm like, all he would do is, because you remember his staff doesn't have to be from within. Once he becomes sheriff, he could bring folks from Long Beach.
We bring that whole culture right over there with him.
What on top of the culture
that's already there.
Yeah. So that shit would be like, I forgot what they call it, when two hurricanes actually combine to one another.
Is that the perfect storm?
Yeah, pretty much. And so he don't let that little soft spoken, I'm Latino, understand, black and brown. He doesn't, like, he promoted every racist person. It was a guy that was fired from Garden Grove PD for pulling out a gun on somebody. Then he was fired from Maywood PD for being shady. But you know what? He was good enough to be a commander in Long Beach PD.
They loved him. But this is another thing, because I'm dealing with the case with a cop here in Jersey, and it's very similar to teachers, like how they could jump departments, even though they have these very troubled, problematic, and dirty histories in a former department. How does that happen?
Cronyism and nepotism. From what I've heard, Luna's son was, I think he was in a fire academy, something like that, and he got caught stealing or lying. Something happened to where like his son has had a bad history of just fucking up. So from what I've been told is that they kind of have moved certain people out the academy and out of backgrounds so they could get his son on the police department. And like I said, you know, the next generation, like let's say, well, my son would never work for Long Beach PD, but let's say if he got knocked on the head or something and decided to apply for some reason, just think about it. You know, if Luna's son is there, my son would be dealing with Luna's son, and I would be telling him, well, I dealt with his dad, you know, and you know that the nepotism and the cronyism is how they do it, and that normally only happens with white officers, because I don't know too many black officers that have been fired and just picked up at other departments. That is pretty much we get one shot at it and that's it. Like I said, I can't even get no one to even look at my background when the evidence to actually prove that I'm right. Like, I'm not even like telling you to like go dig deep. All you have to see is what he said on this date and what he said on this date. And you can clearly see that he lied. And I can't even get no one to look at that. But I had a classmate that had a criminal record. Now he's a homicide detective. He's on a Brady list for lying. And he's like, no, one of the shadiest homicides. And they all knew he was arrested for assault coming into the police academy. So, you know, it's you know, they pick and choose, but then they're hiring him, but some black kid who paid his way through college, who got a 500 score because he got some loans and stuff, they're disqualified in a minute. But you know, you can get fired for pointing guns at folks while you're drunk and then doing shady stuff at another department and make it to command.
Wow. Well, Quincy, I appreciate you giving us this peek into the department. I'm sure there's tons more buried under there, but I think we got a nice little chunk of meat to understand what the culture is, what's going on, and the kind of culture that Luna would bring if he's you know, nominated as the LA sheriff, which that's very scary. I mean, and even scarier is, like you said, the cronyism, the kids that are the kids of the racists, the legacy of racism, the legacy of this culture. You know, that's the part that's disheartening and scary, and I don't know how you reform that out of a department.
No, we actually have to get people in political that's really gonna do something. Not these fake. Like I said, this is supposed to be a liberal city, Long Beach. Like she said, it's very, you know, pro alphabet group. You know, it's very diverse. You have the biggest Cambodian population here, Long Beach. Got a big Samoan population, black folks, white folks. You know, Long Beach is a big melting pot. But and then you have what I think you got about 4 black people on the city council. The woman that's the head of the the Citizen Complaint Commission. In 30 years of the Citizen Complaint Commission, they haven't found out one officer doing wrong in the use of force. The black woman though.
This is comical. This is a comedy show. Like this is a comic strip. This is a cartoon. Yeah. This is not real life, right?
Yeah, black woman in charge of that. So I told you about the Long Beach branch of NAACP. I mean, so like I said, it's you got folks that love to be on TV, shake hands, and it look good. But what they actually doing, they enabling one of the racist police departments in California, in my opinion. And no one willing to speak out. Why? Because they got Luna phone number, direct number, in their phone. And if any of their church members get in trouble, they can just hit them up. Like, you know, like it kind of remind me of like it was. I remember it used to be this club. You see where I'm going with this. There used to be this club called The Gate. Damn, I don't know if you remember The Gate.
No, I don't remember that.
It's called The Gate. And, you know, NBA players used to go there kind of in Hollywood. And I remember I had to hook up. You know, it was one of those things where, you know, you have to know somebody to get up in there. And I remember standing in line and I was getting ready to get in, and it was a group of dark-skinned chicks. And the dude told him, he's like, y'all dark and ugly, y'all can't come in here. And then these light-skinned chicks came in and he let them in. And he was like, oh, what's up, Q? Come on in, whoever you with. I said, I'm these dark-skinned girls, they with me. One of the girls was crying because her feelings was, she got cute, tried to look pretty, and he was like, oh man, I can't let them in. I said, well, I can't come in. And the point I tell that story is I could have got in if I wanted to, but I thought me taking a stand for those young ladies was in the bigger picture was more important to me just looking out for myself and whoever was with my direct group. And I think that we have a lot of black folks in the city of Long Beach. They don't give a damn. They just gonna go in the club and they don't care who's disrespected, who left out, and they just kind of care for themselves. And that's kind of what goes on here, and that's why, you know, I mean, if you look at a lot of chiefs come from Long Beach. Santa Monica chief come from Long Beach. Oceanside chief, Long Beach. Laguna Niguel, they chief was what? There's a lot of chiefs come from Long Beach.
That's frightful. That is absolutely frightful.
I mean, that shit is spreading.
Mm-hmm.
Chief Batts, his black ass went to Oakland, destroyed Oakland, went to Baltimore, destroyed Baltimore. He was the chief when
Freddie Gray died.
Yeah, he was the chief. He Long Beach.
Oh damn.
He was another person that enabled all the racists because they all knew about his domestic violence. So they was blackmailing this dumbass.
Jesus, man.
You know, and it spreads. My father worked on the ports in Long Beach, and he almost was killed and set up in Long Beach. It's very pervasive, and it spills out onto the streets.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And so when you have that many black folks that's in position to make a difference, because they wouldn't reach out to you if they wasn't scared. They wouldn't reach out to the NAACP or to the Black Pastors Association if they wasn't worried about them. But you know, when they know all they have to do is come to your church and get the, you know, wave their hands while the praise team is singing, and they were like, oh, I'll go Chief such and such wave it. He praised the Lord with us this morning. You know, they know how to play the political game in Long Beach, and we have a lot of black folks that's enabled. Like I said, I actually talked to a city council member who told me straight to he said, I know this department racist. He's like, I know they racist. I know. He started giving names. He was giving names I didn't even know. He's like, oh shit, I thought he was cool. He's like, no, he racist as shit. This city council member. So we got to get people that's actually gonna get in there and do something. That's the issue, because you got to look beyond skin color. You gotta look at their work and what they actually standing up for. Because if you just look at skin color, like I said, what they the person that take our complaints, the EEO, the city EEO, she was black. The Citizen Complaint Commission person, she was black. Like, you know, and then when you sue, this is who they send to court. So you get this jury and they see this black lady up there testifying how the department not racist.
You ain't got a chance.
Yeah, saying that you're militant and angry and confrontational.
Yeah. With your black sergeant getting up there, you know, talking about how, you know, he grew up in the hood too, and you know, he grew up in the ghettos, and the department not racist, you know, and it's only what's funny is once they got rid of all the young folks, they started going after the older dudes, and some of them older dudes was like some of the main ones that was saying, "Oh, the department ain't racist." Yeah, well, they on your ass now they, hey, Quincy, what's that lawyer you was talking to, name?
So the lawsuit, what happened?
I lost. Come to find out, long story short, my chief at the time was Chief McDonald, who was the former sheriff. That's who Villanueva beat. He was the chief of Long Beach. And so what ended up happening, my judge, her husband is Mark Fuhrer. That's the city prosecutor in LA.
Mm-hmm.
He was friends with the chief, who was the sheriff at the time. Because every time my attorney brought up about bringing the sheriff in to get cross-examined, it was some made up bullshit. So she left. So she didn't allow like key evidence. So the jury never heard, like when my attorney asked Luna, he was like, how many officers on the department? He was like, oh, 800. He's like, how many are black? The judge said, you can't ask that. When my lieutenant put an Obama face on the trash can, she said, well, that was for political reasons. So what my attorney said, he said, well, have you put Bill Clinton on the trash can? Nope. Joe Biden on the trash can? Nope. He just lists a whole bunch of Democrats that he never put on the trash can. But you know, says political reasons. She's like, well, due to presidential, you know, whatever, blah, 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 the jury can't hear that. So the jury didn't get a chance to hear like the meat of my case. So there was like one vote still. I was away, and it was a black dude. I wanted to punch the shit out of him. He was like, well, I was rolling with you, but they made me change my mind. And he was from Watts, and I grew up in Watts. I was like, dude, I better not ever see your ass. I've never felt like on site is necessary. Until now. Like, it's on site. I don't care how old I am. I see that dude, I'm slapping the shit out of him. But yeah, it was a huge conflict of interest. And you know, it would have cost like $10,000 to appeal, which I would have won. And I think me being a little prideful, looking back at it, I probably could have got on GoFundMe and all that, but that's just not my deal. Now looking back, I probably should have. If you know, I don't know, start
it's not over. I mean, you know, I promise you. Like, one, by you talking about it, that's therapeutic, and that's also, to me, that's liberatory work. You know, that's liberation work you're doing. So, yeah. You know, I would say, you know, borrowing from the church folks, God ain't through with you yet.
Yeah. You know what? Because what hurt me more than anything is I lived a certain way for 31 years. I did everything I could to be as clean cut as I could. I was telling people, I said, if it wasn't for women, I probably had my angel wings, like here on earth, because I didn't really do anything, like I said, and I grew up around I could have been a gang member if I wanted to. So dope did all that, but you know, I had a mom that had a cold left hook. She heavy-handed, and you know, she just wasn't. And people in the community, they just wasn't gonna have it. You know, even those that were in gangs, they wasn't gonna allow us to do that.
I'm glad you mentioned that. There's such a narrative, a false narrative about what it's like growing up in LA in gangs. I was telling Dame, how did the gang narrative become Black LA? Like when we grew up, like you said, there were even bangers that were like, no, stall him out. You know what I'm saying? Little homie, he's smart.
Yeah,
you know,
like that are like people, like I remember they was like, look, Carla's gonna beat your ass, get away from us. like straight up. Like saying my mom, like look, hey, if Carla see you over here with us, she gonna beat your ass. So keep walking. And you know, because I'll be standing out there. I was always entertained about all the theatrics of them playing dice. You know, like it was funny, but they be like, look, here comes your mama, turn that corner and she see you over here with us, she gonna whoop your ass. So go ahead, keep going, and you know, y'all go to that's why, like, when people, you know, they actually encouraged me like to be a cop. Like when I thought, like, you know, folks that were around associated with gangs would be against me being a cop. And they all said, they was like, you're going to be a good cop. We know you because we have raised you. And so they was not against me being in law enforcement. They actually encouraged it because they knew what type of person I was going to be. And even had enough respect to say, we won't be coming to Long Beach because we don't want you to look bad and put you in a situation to it would cause a conflict. And when they did come in Long Beach, they let me know. They're like, oh, there's a party. We're gonna be there. We're gonna jump right on the 710. We're gonna be out of there. Like I had like they care about me all the way to the end to respect me enough about that. And you know, there's like, you go to college, you go be what you want to be. But no, they at least my era of gang members. I don't know about these new cats, but at least my era, if they knew you was a good dude, clean cut, they like, don't get away from us.
Yep.
Don't go somewhere.
100%.
Yeah, it wasn't like what you see on TV. Hey, what you doing? You want some dope? Blah blah blah. Like trust me, if somebody would have tried to sell me some dope, that probably would have been that dude's last day on earth.
Mm-hmm.
If the right people had found out and knew that somebody was trying to like sell me some dope or give me the slang dope, that probably would have been that dude's last day on earth. If the right people were to find out that that's what they were trying to get me. So that you know, just you know, I grew up in a, you know, a different time where, you know, folks really cared about you, and you know, it was truly a village, because you know, my mom used to always say, you know, I can raise you to be a black man, because I'm not a black. She said, but I can raise you to be a good person to the point to where you know you're not being a good black man, you'll recognize it. And you will go seek the help that you need to seek to become a better man. So that's you know, and just but like I was saying, for 31 years, you know, because all that happened when I was like 31. I lived a clean life, and they were able to destroy a name in 6 months that I built in 31 years. And that hurt me more than anything, because I wanted my kids. I've always thought about like reversing the curse. Like, I was the first generation college graduate in my family, which since I graduated from college, my brother, my cousins, everybody, other people have graduated from college, you know, whereas, you know, pretty much all the males up until me everybody was going to jail till me and my cousins came along. So I was always trying to reverse certain curses, you know, that came along with my family. And, you know, they did their best to destroy that. And I think I remember telling my POA president this. I said, you know what really more devastating? I said, all these racist bastards, I would have died for it. I said, and all y'all would have did is throw an American flag on my casket with some bagpipes. No, damn well I don't give a damn about no bagpipes. I was like, I said, I would have wanted some saxophone players. I don't want no goddamn bagpipes. And y'all would have sat there, talk about how great, where these motherfuckers really didn't give a damn about me. Didn't care. And what hurt me more than anything, it was another black officer. They did the same way. It was a good friend of mine. Went to Dorsey High School in LA. Good dude. And he committed suicide.
Wow.
And that right there always bothers me because I wasn't suicidal, but I know I felt what he was going through, especially when you see so many others do some of the same things you was doing, and they promote, and then here they are coming after you like you the most dirtiest cop on earth, and it was devastating. So,
well, it's interesting you say that too, Quincy, because this is an example of what we talk about when we talk about not only white supremacy, but when we talk about systematic racism and systemic oppression. When you can do everything right, you can do everything the way they told you to do it. You cannot do drugs, you cannot go to jail, you can go to college, you can be clean, and they still, at the end of the day, can find a way to treat you like a nigga.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And this is the thing that I be wanting certain black men to understand when they talk about, well, I'm doing good. That's not what it's about, man. That's not, you know what I mean? That's not all there is to it. We all ain't doing good, and we all dealing with, you know what I'm saying? Because it like I said, it's just it's disheartening, but it's also a sobering example of how you could do everything right. You could pull yourself up by your bootstraps, as you say. You first generation college graduate, you know, never been to jail, come from a family with, you know, a background that you could have went the other way. Same with me, you know what I mean? And it still don't matter. Like I never gangbanged, never got in trouble like that. I still got pulled over by the police, harassed and beat multiple times by the police, and I've never been a criminal, so that don't even matter. Yeah. And I said, it's funny because when people say, well, if the cops do something dirty, it can't be that bad. Or no, they either say you must have done something, or they say it's not as bad as y'all think it is. And I said, well, if it's not as bad as I think it is, how come me, my dad, my cousins have all been harassed beat by the police, and none of us have a criminal record?
Yeah.
I know we not the anomaly.
Yeah. Well, you know, just like I was telling a friend of mine, he called me about a situation. He's still an officer, and he was very upset because it was this black woman. She had her son, and he was standing right there, and she told her son, "Don't you look at him. He might shoot you." And my friend, he got mad. He went off on the black mom, whatever. And he's a cop. He was on duty. I said, "Do you know why she said that?" He was like, "Well, some of the stuff that's going on in the media about cops," and he's like, "We all not like that." You know, I said, "Well, look, let me tell you this." I said, "First, she wasn't talking to you. She was talking to your uniform." I said, "But let me tell you something." I said, "There was a woman in 1968, or I think 68, 67. She was standing on the porch and during a Watts riot, and a sheriff deputy told her mom, "If you don't get inside, I'm gonna blow your fucking brains out." I said, "That was my mom." And the sheriff deputy was talking to my grandmother.
Wow.
I said, that was 68. I said, in 1988, which the story I shared with you guys in the beginning. I come home, LAPD, I hear them tell my mom, "If you move, I'm gonna blow your motherfucking brains out." I said, "You see where I'm going with this?" I said, 20 years apart, almost at the same age, me and my mom have the same experience. I said, now, luckily, Isaiah, my kids haven't experienced that, but what they experienced is a dad that they knew was a good person, a good officer, was wrongly treated and terminated. I said, and what you don't understand is the generational, like you just mentioned, the generational experiences that we have had. I said, and how you respond to her, you get mad at his mom in front of him. So what you think that shows that kid? And he was like, you know what, you're right. So I guess when he saw her again, he chatted with her in a different manner. I said, you were wrong. I said, she was speaking from fear, and you confirmed that fear. You justify that fear instead of doing the opposite. And you know, and that's the sad part about it, is that they truly don't like when you hear them talk, they truly don't get it. Like they don't get the generational, like I share this with you guys. And then you know about this. I was arrested for domestic violence. My ex, she got tired of me. Long story short, she got tired of my ass cheating and jumped on me and said, "Well, fuck it. I ain't going to jail. I'm just gonna say he beat me." Of course, I was eventually cleared, and you know, she admitted her wrong, and we have a beautiful daughter, and we get along to this day. What I remember is when Long Beach tried to use that against me, I remember them saying, you know, they believe she was bipolar, she was the primary aggressor, she attacked me. She found the witness. They found the witness that backed up, that corroborated my story. It was a neighbor that I wasn't even aware of. And then at the last line, they said he's at fault for domestic violence for staying in a bad relationship. I can show you the paper. I swear. And that's when I realized, even as a Black man, when you are a victim, you're still a suspect. Mm. And that I mean, because back then, if once you decide that person is the primary aggressor, that's pretty much that's your suspect. And they acknowledged she was the primary aggressor. She was this, she was that, and at the bottom line, they said, well, because I told them, I said, look, if I was a woman, could y'all really say, oh, he was bipolar, he was aggressive, he was the primary aggressor? We found a witness that corroborated her story. But you know what? Since she decided to stay in this relationship, she's guilty of domestic violence. And what bothers me more, how people were like okay with that decision. It's like everybody was fine, like, oh yeah, that's how it goes. It's like, no, that's not how it goes. Like you guys just accused me, or although she came back, like I said, she told the truth, and I have all this information and data to back up the opposite. You still at the end found a way to make me the guilty party in it. And that's when that was when I said, you know what, that's when like my understanding of systematic racism, I was like, I already saw it from an officer perspective, but because when they book people and they throw a felony on them, knowing folks can't fight it, and they just throw it, and it's hurt when you got to carry a title that you probably just can't afford to defend against. It's not that you're guilty, you just can't afford to defend against it. And that's a story of a lot of people out there, and it's unfortunate, and it's crazy that folks like to deny that systematic racism actually exists.
Damn, man. Well, whew. I don't think I have any more questions, because I think you kind of answered all the questions that we had about everything. Do you have any follow-ups, Kaya?
I thank you for sharing your story at Arc Republic. In a never in a million years that I think, that this platform would offer such rich stories coming from the perspective that you bring. So I thank you so very much. I hope that you're not a stranger. I hope this is the first of many conversations. And I think law enforcement was not your job. You need to be in some type of comedy. I hope you are writing some type of comedic stories. Just listening to you, that's one of the things I love and I miss about LA. We are some hell of a storytellers, and we could totally make some funny shit out of some very traumatic things, right? But I really believe that our evolution in life, everything happens for a reason, and you were walked out of there because you wouldn't be the man who you are today, and that's who the world needs.
It took me a while. It took me a while to understand that, and I probably just got that. I would say probably right when I started doing the show with Dane, because you don't really recognize your transformation while you going through it, and then when I started talking about that, I was like, oh wow, like I wouldn't even kick it with me at age 31 now. like I wouldn't even hang out with me at that age now. So but I'm definitely proud. Of course, I'm always a work in progress, but that is true. I wouldn't be who I am today if I didn't have that experience.
Or now this has made me want to go do yoga, smoke a blunt, drink some wine, observe Ramadan, and read the Bible. But no, thank you so very much.